Hello everybody, this is your art teacher, Miss Dressel, and today I am going to give you a tour of Google Drawing. We are going to come over to the Google Drive, and in the top left-hand corner of your screen, you're going to see this button that says New. We will click on it, come down to where it says More, and then come over to Google Drawings. When you click on Google Drawings, it's going to open it up in a new tab, a whole new Google Drawing that's automatically going to get saved to your Google Drive. The first thing you want to do is rename your untitled drawing. You want to give your project a name, something that you're going to remember it as, so I'm going to call it Your Artwork. Once I click Enter, it's going to save it, and it's going to be saved to my drive with its new name. The first thing that I want to talk to you about are the things at the top of the window. So you're going to see there are some tabs here, and then you have a toolbox with lots of different options. And this toolbox here is going to change a little bit as we click on the different tools and make some different choices in our project. So I want to go over some of these tabs and tools so that you can get yourself familiar with Google Drawing. So I think it's kind of important first to go over this toolbar. You have undo, step. It's like a step backwards, redo, stepping forwards, and every time you mouse over, it's going to give you the keyboard shortcut. So Control Y, Control Z to undo and redo. When you move your mouse over, this is your zoom tool. This is going to help you zoom in on part of your project. So when you click on the magnifying glass, it activates it. But when you come over, I'm zooming in so that it takes up more of our room. If you come over and you click on this arrow down, it's going to give you a dialog box so that you can actually zoom in to a percentage or show you the keyboard shortcut to zoom in and zoom out. This is the select tool. This is kind of like just your basic pointer. It's going to help you click things, move them around. Right here are the line tools. There are 7 different line tools. I kind of like to focus on just 4 of them. The line tool that makes straight lines, the curve tool that makes curved shapes, the polyline that makes geometric shapes, and the scribble tool, which is most like a pencil to draw. So I'm going to zoom out quickly, and I'm going to give you a little bit of tour of these couple of tools in the line category. So to get to this, if I just click on where it says line, it's going to give me the line tool. If I want to see the different line tools, I need to come over to select line. It's this triangle pointing down. I click on it, and that's how I get these 7 choices to appear. Just to give you a quick tour of them, the line tool will make some straight lines. The curve tool, I know I'm on the curve tool because the symbol changes. The curve tool will make curved lines. If you double click, it will turn it into a curved line. But if you come back over to the curve tool, you will be able to make a shape. So I'm going to come over to the curve tool. We need a little bit more room. And every time I click, move the mouse, click, move the mouse, click, move the mouse, and click, I will be able to change the direction of my line, the type of curve it is. And then when I click back where I started, it will close off my shape. The same thing goes with the polyline tool. If I want to make a line that has straight edges and angles, I can double click to make a line, and it will close itself off and be filled in. Or I can use the polyline to make a geometric shape. So I could come around and I can make a custom geometric shape that has these straight lines and angles. So that is the polyline tool. The scribble tool is going to give you the opportunity to draw using pressure by clicking and moving your finger around on the trackpad if you're using the Chromebook, so that I can get a custom line. So now, if you're taking a look at all these things that I just made with the line tools, they are pretty boring. So we're going to come over in here and we're going to actually add some shapes to our artwork real fast. In the shapes tool, there are lots of different pre-made shapes. Some of these shapes are a little bit iconic, like a lightning bolt. Some of these shapes are a little bit silly, like a smiley face. But there are a ton of, oops, wrong spot, a lot of geometric shapes, like the oval. One of the great things about Google Drawing is if you're not sure the name of the shape, when you hover over it with the mouse, it's going to tell you, like the right triangle, the parallelogram, the trapezoid. All these shapes are in here hanging out for you to use to make your picture. Now you might be looking at this and go, every time she makes a new shape, it comes on top. So what happens if I don't want the shapes to be on top? Well, we'll come back to that in a minute, talking about these options that are up here in the tabs. I want to work our way down the toolbox so we can talk about all the different tools that there are in our Google Drawing. So we're going to look at the toolbar, moving our way down away from the line and the shape tool. we can come over to the text box layer. If you look, there is a paint bucket. This is called the fill color tool. Right next to it is the border color tool. This is going to change the outline color. The border weight, this is going to change the thickness of the border. And the border dash, that's going to change the type of line going around the outside of our shapes. If you notice, all of our lines are thin, black lines all around the outsides of our shapes, and the insides of our shapes are automatically filled in light blue. So when you come over to the select tool, you can select one of these shapes that you make, and it gets a binding box. The binding box has a blue dot and blue anchor squares around the outside edge of the shapes. This is going to let you do things like resize to stretch them out or shrink them down. The blue dot is going to allow you to turn your shape at an angle, so you'll be able to rotate your shapes all around in different directions. We can even move them like this, attach them in different ways. So now that we have seen a little bit about how to change the shape, we're going to keep changing those shapes, and we're going to talk about the fill color tool. When you come over to the fill color tool and you select it, it gives you some different options. It gives you solid colors. It gives you color gradients. And when you come over to the solid colors, it has an option to become transparent, to be see-through. It also has the option to make a custom color. So when you come over to custom color, it's going to look like this for a solid color choice. You can type in the hex code. You can use this visual guide to choose a color. Use the hue slider to choose a new base color. And you can also make your shapes transparent. So you can change the opacity of your shape, your transparency level of how see-through your shape is going to be. And that's what I've got. So I'll be able to layer shapes on top of each other, and we can see what happens when we make custom color choices that are slightly transparent for our shapes. We can come all the way over down to this red. We can make a nice bright red, and let's change this to a color that might mix more nicely with red. Let's choose the orange, and we can make it a custom orange by changing the transparency, choosing OK, and we can see what happens when the colors are mixing. That is the fill color tool, and you can also use the color gradients, these radial gradients that radiate from the center, or these linear gradients that go from top to bottom or from side to side, depending on how you choose it. And then, from that custom color gradient, it gives you a different dialog box where you can choose whether the gradient will be radiating from the center, the direction, if it's a linear gradient, the angle, and then you can change what color fades from what to what. So you can use gradient stops by clicking Add, and you'll get these little dots that you can reposition on your slider here. And then you can change the color of your stops. So you could go from red to orange to yellow to green and blue. So just for fun, making that nice colored gradient. And then when you play with these types, whether it's a radial or linear, you can get a lot of unique options to apply to your shapes. That's my intro to the fill color tool, and now we can move on to the line color. So one thing that you might want to do is you might want to change the lines for all of the shapes that you've made. We can select multiple things with the select tool by pressing shift on your keyboard and click, click, click on the things that you want to edit. So I'm clicking on things that I made that are solid lines, so when I come over to the toolbar, it changes to just show me line color. So I can change the color of my line to make it something fun like pink. Then you can change how thick your line is going to be in pixels, the weight of your line in pixels, 1 being really thin, 24 being your thickest choice. I'm going to pick 8, somewhere in the middle. Then you can come over to line dash, and you can explore dotted lines, dashed and dotted lines, thick dashed lines, all of these different choices for you to add effects to your picture. So say you don't like that. Maybe you want to go back to where we were. You can use the undo button to go back through some of your previous choices. So now that I've made some cool dotted lines, I'm going to keep on moving along so that we can take a look at my random shapes that I've got over here, and we can talk about changing them up a little bit. So you might want to arrange the order of your shapes in a different way. So you can come over to the tabs in the toolbar. So when you come over to the tabs in the toolbar, one of your choices is to arrange the order of your shapes. So when you use arrange order, it's going to give you choices like bring to front, bring forward, send to back, or send backwards. So when you use these options, it's going to move the layer of your shapes. Every new shape comes on top of each other. So this one If it's kind of towards the back, we want to bring it to the front, it's going to make it on top. It's going to lay over top of these other shapes. Maybe I want the face to be in the front. I can do it again. Arrange, order, bring to front. Or I could use the keyboard shortcut Control-Shift-Up arrow key to arrange the order of my shapes. Maybe I want to take it and I want to move it to the back. I could use Arrange, Order, Send to Back. And notice how because it's in the front, it can't go anywhere. Those options get grayed out. Then I can send it to the back again. Another thing you might want to be able to do is move things as a group. So say I have my head, my little party hat on top. I want to be able to click on it and move all three things at once. That's not happening right now. So I am going to arrange these three objects as a group. I'm going to use Shift on my keyboard, click, 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 and then I'm going to come over to Arrange Group. And that way, anything I do to these shapes, it'll be done to all of them. So they're moving together because I'm clicking on one of them. I could change the color of all of them to yellow. I could change the border of all of them to be orange. I could change the border thickness to be 4 pixels thick. I could change the outline to be dashed. So whatever I do to these shapes, it happens to all of them because they're arranged as a group. What else is important for me to bring up about our Google Drawing? One of the things that you can do with your Google Drawing in the toolbar, when you have the select tool and something is selected, you are going to get more options in the toolbar. It's going to come all the way down over here where it says Format Options. This is something you might want to check out when you're working. If you click on Format Options, you'll get a new toolbox on the side of your page. You'll have the option to change the size or rotate with this box. So you can change the width, you can change the height, you can lock the aspect ratio, so that way when you do one, it will also do the other to keep it in proportion. Another thing that you can do is rotate your object in here. So say you want to flip it over horizontally or flip it over vertically, you can just click that and it will do a flip like 180 degrees. Another thing you might want to be able to do is add a shadow or a reflection. So by adding a shadow, it's going to make something look more three-dimensional. So you're going to have these options with the slider to make a shadow for your shapes that you're working with in your picture. So you can change the options in the slider for how transparent, the angle, the distance, and how blurry your shadow is going to be. So give these a chance to move them around and see how it can affect your image. Underneath the drop shadow effect is the reflection effect. So you can see underneath it now there is this magical reflection like looking into a mirror, and you can affect that reflection by playing with the transparency, the distance, how far away it's going to be, the size, whether it's really a full reflection or whether it's smaller, just maybe part of the shape, changing it up that way. Maybe you don't want a reflection. You can always turn it off after you play around with that setting. That was the Format Options tool inside of the toolbar all the way on the right-hand side. There are a couple of other things I want to be able to show you how to do today, and we are going to talk about insert. There might be some kind of a picture that you want to find on the web that could enhance your picture. So say you want to add a background. We have all of these fun shapes going on. Maybe we can look for a rainbow to add into our picture for a background effect. So I'm going to use Insert Image, Search the Web to bring up this dialog box. So that way I can find a nice image to insert into my project. So just for funsies, I'm going to pick this one, and then I'm going to insert it into my picture. Now I can resize it, stretch it out, make it nice and big. Whoa, this is visually very detailed with all these shapes and patterns going on in the background, but it's on top of everything. I might need to come to Arrange Order, Send Backwards. Oh, it only moved one shape backwards. That's because Arrange Order, Send Backwards moves one layer at a time. If I want to send it all the way to the back, I need to click Control-Shift-Down arrow key or Arrange Order, Send to Back. Now it's behind everything, and you can see that transparent shape is still showing me some of those details in the background looking pretty cool like that. And then I might be looking at my picture going, I want to crop it down, make it smaller. So I want to move some of these things, get them all in the frame, but the picture is actually this large. So where all of that gray checkerboard is my picture. So something I might want to do is click and drag with the select tool to select all of my shapes and line them up nice and neat with the corner. Then I can come down to the corner with the diagonal lines. I can click and drag to resize my drawing space. I want to make my drawing smaller so that all of my shapes fill up the whole space. I'm going to go back in, and I'm just going to choose to shift and click so that I can color these two things in, and I'll make them gray. Just because I want to not have them that default color. Let's say I'm done. I'm going to want to save my work as an image file. So I'll come over to File, Download, and I'll choose JPEG image. This way when I save my picture, it's saved as an image file type. Right now it's a Google drawing, and it's kind of like a Google Doc file. So I want to save it as an image file. That way I can put it on the internet. And because I'm on a laptop computer, it's going to save it to my downloads. On your Chromebook, it might save it to my files downloads on your Chromebook. So this is my introduction video to how to use Google Drawing. I hope you were able to learn some really useful tips and tricks.